So hello guys, and welcome to another video. And earlier today, we didn't get the announcement of the Switch 2, but we got something that was still pretty exciting for me. That is a new trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and it actually showed off a lot more of this remaster, and like with things like gameplay and like the battle system and different things, like a lot of things we've been wanting to see, and also some glimpses of the new content as well. And I wanted to discuss that today on this video, and joining me once again is Anton Retro. We're both really looking forward to this game. So yeah, the first thing that I immediately noticed, even though I haven't played too much of Xenoblade X, but the most obvious thing to point out here is the new UI, because it looks so much better than it did in the original version. In the original game, you couldn't even see it. It was like a UI for ants. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't great, especially when you're playing on the gamepad. You can barely see, especially with like the 480, was it 480p screen,
Yeah.
right? You can barely see anything. And then you have to navigate the menus, and no, it's just not good.
Yeah, now it looks so clean. Like, I just really like this. Like, yeah, I know, like, and the thing is, it's not, like, bland or, like, super, like, minimalistic, too. It's, like, it has everything there that you need, like, easy to understand, and it just looks really good. I just, like, I know, like, a lot of people, like, have issues with, like, this, like, how super simple and minimalistic everything looks during the Switch era, but I think this kind of sleekness looks way better than it did in the original version of Xenoblade X. Like, you could actually clearly see things like the, like your HP, TP, the enemy's HP, like the HP bar there for the enemy and their level, are just clearly visible. I think they reused like a few assets from Xenoblade 3, but like it kind of does have its own flair to it too. And then also like just like the whole menu where you like select attacks looks so much better. It just looks so clean. Like it reminds me of like the upgrade that the Thousand Year Door remake got. It's just so much better. You could also see how you could do like combos. It has like a little guide with the colors on how you can do the combos, like overdrive. Because apparently like a lot of people had issues doing overdrive in the original version of the game. So it's like,
Yeah, I didn't even know it existed, and I didn't know what it was. That's how bad the game didn't really explain. Or I didn't really understand all the combat stuff, so...
Yeah. Even things as simple as, like, looking at your own, like, health bar. I know I was already mentioning that a little bit, but I was just... Like, in the original game, I remember, just from the little bit that I've played of it, it's just, like, so hard to follow. Like, you could, like...
the bars are,
the
like,
bar...
in weird places, and
Yeah.
blue, and then there's other ones that are yellow. Like, you wouldn't really think that a blue bar would be your health, the way it's set up, or it looks like almost like lines. Like, it was a bit weird, and then especially since it's so like low resolution, it's hard to see everything that's going on. And like for the descriptions of the attack, it's just so much stuff. It's like, what is going on? So I'm glad that they really streamlined, and the new font, the way everything looks clear and crisper, is going to make it so much better to play.
Yeah, like even in the overworld is like, or I guess like when you're just exploring. I was kind of like saying like overworld, like between like battles but like just when you're exploring, like just the world and everything. Even like that part of the UI still looks way better than it did in the original. Like you could easily see like the task that you need to do, like the mission, and like from what I've heard from some people who've played more of Xenoblade X, like the things like the follow ball and like the path that it shows you where to go, is handled much better than it was in the original. Like it actually has like a longer trail to where you could see where you need to go, which is actually very helpful. And you could also easily see what you need to do, because I remember from what I've played of Xenoblade X, the mission, like when you were viewing like the mission that you had to do, it was tiny. It was just like a little check on like the right side of the screen.
Oh yeah.
And now it's actually, you could pull it up to look like a lot bigger now, like in other Xenoblade games. And also, like, even the mini-map looks nice, too. It's, like, just everything about this new menu here. Just, like, it's such a huge upgrade from the original, I would say. Because there was a lot of things that were either, like, way too small or kind of unnecessary on the original one. But now you can actually see everything that's happening and know what's happening.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much better. Everything's gonna be streamlined, easier to understand, which is only a good thing. So I'm really excited to see like what other changes that they make. And I even think that just there's gonna be a lot of quality of life improvements and features. Like for example, I remember when you have to go place down, or like there's like the hexagons or whatever when you have to go to the menu to. On the gamepad to look at that, because you can like put the survey. I think it's the surveying stuff you do. You had to go into the separate menu on the gamepad and do some other stuff. It was really confusing, and it didn't really tell you like what to do, or you had to kind of manually do it, right? So it seems that they made it so you just press a button and kind of do it, and brings up a menu.
Yeah.
So everything's a lot simpler to use instead of it trying. In the original game, you had to kind of figure stuff out on your own, and it kind of forced you to use that gamepad instead of just opening up a menu that way. So it was kind of weird, but it seems like they're gonna try to make it a lot easier. Because I think a big thing with the Wii U, and it's for a lot of games, like even Pikmin 3 did it a lot, where it's like the gamepad is like, it's like a device the character is using in the game, and wow, you have that device too. You know what I mean? Like that kind of gimmick where. Oh, it's actually like the gamepad, but in the game, and you use it like a little device kind of idea, but that doesn't really work well when you always have to look down and up and down and up. So just having it on one screen with a better menu that's much nicer is going to be really nice.
Yeah, and I've also noticed that it just looks like the way it's set up also looks better than in the original, since it actually seems more zoomed out and you could see everything a little better. Because I remember in the original, it was like much more zoomed in. You could only see like a small portion of it. I assume that was meant more for like the touchscreen and also like the lower resolution of the Wii U gamepad. But now that it's taking advantage of like the whole screen, or like a higher resolution screen, it looks much better. Like, you kind of get a bigger picture of everything that's going on here. And I definitely prefer that, I would say. It also makes it easier to select, like, without, like, a touchscreen and everything, which definitely would be helpful. So, yeah, I really like that change there. I definitely think that's a nice quality of life update there. But I also wanted to get into the graphics and, like, the visuals a little bit, too. Because from what I've noticed in the trailer, and also the other footage that we've gotten, this seems to, like, actually seem... Like, it actually seems like it's a higher resolution than the other Xenoblade games on the Switch.
Yeah.
And I know it's a Wii U game, but at the same time, it's still, like, a remaster, and it's also... much larger.
Xenoblade Definitive Edition didn't even look that nice.
Yeah.
Or that crisp. You could tell that game was trying to use a lot of technologies to make it look better.
Yeah, and with this, like, this is on a much larger scale than like Xenoblade 2 Definitive or 1 Definitive Edition and 3. So that makes it all the more impressive that it actually looks this good. Apparently, it even has a smaller file size than the one on the Wii U, which, like, after looking at all this footage, I am kind of blown away. Like, how are they able to compress it this much and have it still look a lot better than the original version? Like, I'm looking at this footage and I'm like, how is the resolution this good for a game this big on the original Switch. Like, this almost looks like they're showing it on this. I know this is one, like, very, very likely Switch 1 footage. I don't think Nintendo would show Switch 2 footage of this game, because I don't... That would kind of be, like, false advertising if they were to show footage running on the Switch 2. But, like, just looking at this footage, I'm like, how is this Switch 1? This is crazy. For, like, I know it's not, like, the best looking Switch game, but, like, still, for a game on this massive scale, I am impressed, I would say. Like, because this looks visually better than even 3 did. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is running at, like, 900p natively. Like, the thing is, like, the other Xenoblade games, they didn't run at 1080p natively, even docked. They ran at, like, 720p, and sometimes even went down to, like, I think, like, 540p or something. I think that was Xenoblade 3 Definitive Edition. But with this game, it definitely seems to be running at a higher native resolution on the Switch, I would say, even without upscaling and things. 'Cause I know Monolith Soft has implemented certain upscaling features with, like, Definitive Edition and 3. So, while that may be the case here, I do feel like it probably is running at a higher native resolution. It just kind of seems that way from the footage that I've seen. Like, the kind of, like, looking at the footage of, like, the Skell flying around the world, I'm like, wow, this just looks really good.
Yeah. It does look really, really good. Like, everything loads pretty well, from what we've seen. You know, it's quite funny. Years ago, I remember, I think it was Takahashi said, oh, the game would have to be recreated from the ground up or something. Do you remember that? Where he's like, oh, it'd be really hard.
Yeah.
Bring to Switch.
Yeah, that was like
I think he was doing some trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it was because that was before Xenoblade 3, I believe. So maybe they wanted to put their focuses on Xenoblade 3 before they did this, and he was so invested in the development of Xenoblade 3 that he didn't really want... They were still probably planning on doing this, but they just didn't want to get into the details around the time. And of course, like, there's things like NDAs from Nintendo, and, like, the fact that, like, they wouldn't want to reveal anything too early. So that's probably why he was saying that, like, they were planning on doing it and different things like that. That's usually what a lot of developers and things say, in response to things like this. So, and I don't think he ever outright denied it as well. I think there was, like, a little bit of, like, kind of, it was either, I don't know, for sometimes, like, quotes like that can be kind of, like, misinterpreted a little bit. So I don't know, maybe he kind of meant something a little different, but who knows. And
Yeah.
I also wanted to get into the new content as well, because we did, like, catch a glimpse of it from the trailer. So we saw that there was, like, a new Skell, and also a new character as well. And both of these are very similar to what was shown in the concept art of the game. So seeing, like, cut content brought back, like, potentially here is really cool. I really like that. And it just, like, it looks really cool as well. Like the new Skell design it looks awesome. I really like how it looks. And the new character looks pretty interesting as well. It's like, I think it's like, I forgot what the name of the species is called, or, like, the race is called, but, like, they're like, there's like
Melpon?
No, it's like they're like humanoid characters, but they're in Xenoblade X.
Oh,
and
I don't really know too much.
There's only, like, one character in the game who's like that, I believe. So, and I think this other character seems to be, like, a part of that same species as well. So I think that would be really cool to see, like, kind of building off of the world building of, like, Mira in the world of Xenoblade X4. I think that's really cool. I think this character also had like assuming it's the same character, like they also had like a skull as well. That looked pretty cool. Like the design of it. But yeah. So
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a lot that they could do with this story, and also, it seems like my prediction was right of the fact that they're adding a new area, because it seems like they are, like with the floating island area. That looks really cool.
It does look pretty neat, doesn't it?
Yeah. It like kind of reminds me a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom, as well as Xenoblade
Yeah,
3 as well.
Yeah, there were some sections in the game. Yeah, it's even cool how even the first Xenoblade had a lot of floating islands as well. So something that's definitely not new to the franchise. So they look really neat though. It's nice that because I guess that's the thing, right? With this game, they can't really do like a separate area with the story. They have to use the existing world and make like, and here's a new area we can explore now. Right?
Yeah.
At least I think that's what it is, right? It should be.
Yeah.
I don't see it being like a sub area.
Yeah, I think the lesson to learn here is to never underestimate Monolith Soft. They work wonders. I think like between them and HAL Laboratories, they're like the most dedicated Nintendo affiliated developers, I would say. Like they always know like what people want and how to exceed people's expectations. Like Monolith Soft, just over the past few years, have just been like incredible. Like with everything that they've done, it's like
I almost feel kind of bad for them because like the games are not as popular as other franchises that they should be because of how well they're done. They're not really that complicated. Like I'm surprised a lot of people like they feel very Nintendo like. It's not like they feel very different from other things Nintendo has. They feel they're very polished. They have good story, good mechanics. I feel like this is the game though that's way more or less story heavy, and I think that's what people kind of get scared of. Like, it's a big story and you have to have that time commitment. But this game's a little bit more adventure focused, a little bit more
also
arcade, almost like
multiplayer.
Right? You can kind of do anything.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for the multiplayer. That'd be really fun. It's funny how like they shut down the Wii U version just like not that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty funny coincidence. It might not even be like a coincidence too. That they might have been like planning to bring this game back at some point because they knew that the servers weren't going to stay up forever.
I was planning to, but by the time I kind of got able to, it shut down. So I was hoping to try it out. But guess what? I can.
Yeah, and I think like jumping into the online here will probably be even like I would say probably better than it was in the original. Because like I know Nintendo Switch Online is just kind of crappy sometimes, but like it still is convenient. Like when you want to play.
This game is more of like an MMO, right?
Yeah.
In of itself because of the has the online stuff, but it makes it like a lot more fun, right?
Yeah. And there's a certain other game that's also open world and has online multiplayer on the Switch that you won't need to play that game if you want to get your open world online fix. I am not going to mention that game because I would be beating
his favorite.
Yeah, I would be beating a dead horse, as people say, if I brought it up. But I am so glad that that is not the only Nintendo published game on the Switch anymore, where you could actually go into an open world and play with people.
That game made me quite. I mean, it at least it worked, right? At least that game worked. But it worked much better than I thought it was. But if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I mean, the game overall, it had it worked pretty well. So online wasn't bad, and we'd expect it to be a bit more clunky and janky. It wasn't that bad at all. And they kind of designed the game well enough to use it, but there really wasn't that much to do, and it looked kind of ugly at some parts, and it wasn't great. But this game is a way better multiplayer online game, and hopefully it runs really well, which it should. I mean, the version ran okay, so I doubt Monolith Soft's gonna or so anything, and well, they can update it anytime they want if they need to fix problems.
Yeah, I definitely trust Monolith Soft. Like, with their past few projects that they've released have all been very good and well polished. So I definitely have a lot of faith that Xenoblade X will work really well on the Switch. And also,
yeah, and you know what? Oh, wait, continue.
I was
gonna
gonna
bring something out after.
But I wanted to say, speaking of the Switch, we've been talking about the Switch a lot, but we have another console coming soon, the Switch 2. And the only thing that I am slightly disappointed about is the fact that this is just, like, for Switch 1. They're not, like, they're doing this before the Switch 2 launches, presumably before the Switch 2 launches. And I would have loved this to take advantage of the Switch 2, like, because we've already seen how nice it looks on the Switch. Just imagine how good it would look on the Switch 2. Like, it probably would have been, like, one of the best looking, like, Nintendo games of all time if it released on the Switch 2. I just think that's slightly disappointing. However, I think they probably had that in mind and probably still have, like, some kind of update or upgrade on the way coming for when the Switch 2 launches. I think that would make a lot of sense if there was, like, some kind of, like, update, like, free for people who, like, buy the game, even on the Switch 1, like, when it releases. Like, some kind of update for it to, like, maybe look even better or run even better on the Switch 2. Like, maybe, I wouldn't say it would natively run in 4K on the Switch 2, but I would say maybe if it ran in, like, 1440p, maybe 4K with the rumored DLSS upscaling, that would be great on the Switch 2. 60 FPS. I think that would be really cool if they had some kind of, like, update for the Switch 2. And I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with this, you know, I guess my Wii U will no longer really be that used. I mean, apart from maybe Color Splash, and I recently got Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, so that's a game that and Woolly World, you know, there's a few games left on there, but this is one of the major ones, right?
Yeah.
So now not having this game, I mean, even Woolly World's on the 3DS too, so
yeah.
It's not necessarily exclusive. So the amount of games that you want to play, there's not very many, but yeah, it's kind of unfortunate in that way. But at the same time, this game needed to escape Wii U jail.
Yeah, it definitely, out of, like, all Wii U games, I feel like aside from maybe, like, Mario Kart 8 and I guess, like, also I'm trying to think, because, like, the Wii U didn't have, like, a ton of games. I guess, like, Tropical Freeze, that's another one. This definitely needed a port the most, I would say. This game is just too good to be stuck on the Wii U. I mean, I know I haven't played a ton of it, but it's still, just for what I've played, it's just an excellent idea, and just, like, such an ambitious and great game, like, overall.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the games that they had to do it. I mean, the amount of left that need to be brought over is not too many. I mean, Color Splash, we don't need that. We don't need Star Fox Zero. Really, it's only Woolly World, I'd say. That's the one I'd bring over the most.
And Rainbow Curse.
It's a definitive version.
Rainbow Curse.
Rainbow Curse, if they figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, if that C button means cast, then that could probably work on the Switch 2.
Or they use the cursor thing, right? If they use the cursor.
Actually,
for the Switch 2,
yeah, that would work.
That's a possibility. They could do that.
But I think before we get to,
I feel like probably I was gonna say that I think for a Kirby game, I think Planet Robot's more likely anyway at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we get too off topic.
Let's talk about every single Wii U. Okay, different video. That's a different video.
But yeah, just like Xenoblade X, definitely I would say probably deserved it the most out of, like, any other like Wii U game, and I'm just so glad that it's happening now. Like, I am really excited about this remaster and everything. And yeah, it's definitely not just a straight up port of the game. This, honestly, I would say this is probably being handled better than any other Wii U re-release on the Switch, I would say. I mean, I guess you could argue maybe like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because of the booster course pass, but this is just like a full-on upgrade. Like, it's like the only one that actually got fully remastered. It actually like looks in line with the other Xenoblade games on the Switch, and is getting
I was
like
hoping they would give it like a major like redone, because especially with the character models, they didn't look too good, and even the environments looked a little like bland. Like, I'm glad they made the saturation a bit more. So I'm pretty happy with that. But it doesn't go like that far away from what the game looked like. But it makes everything like brighter and better. So that's really good.
Yeah. So I think that's all we have to say for now.
Yeah, I guess one thing I will say is, do you think that they'll try to link the story with the other Xenoblade games, specifically like Xenoblade 3?
Oh,
do you think they're gonna
I
try
don't
and
know.
do that?
Like, I mean, like, at first you think, like, how would they possibly do that? Like, that seems almost impossible, but, like, at the same time, like, they focused on that thing, like, the fact of connecting all the games together so heavily in Xenoblade 3. It just seems like something that, like, they would want to do, like, for,
Or you
like...
think they're gonna start over?
I don't know.
Like, this is like its own thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people bring up the fact like, oh, but they can't do it because Xenoblade, because Xenogears or Xeno's X, not Xeno Saga, whatever, is part of this, but this is part of this, and it's like, well, those are different. They're not technically canon.
I think that's
You know?
I think that's debatable. Some people will argue that it is.
Some people will argue with that. To me, I don't think so. I mean, some people are like, oh, this lines up, but this might line up, and this, but it's way too like, it's way too conspiracy to be like, oh, this lines up, and this. To me, it's a different series.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I love Xenoblade and I love the lore of the series, but connecting it to the others, that's beyond my, like, where I have kind of like, I guess where I have room to talk, I guess. I guess that's up for other maybe more like obsessed people with the Xeno franchise have to discuss. I'll let them talk about that. That's
they can argue about that in the comments.
Yeah, that's not my place to bring that up. So I guess like you guys in the comments, if you want to connect all of that, you can. I'm just more focused on like Xenoblade specifically. Though I do want to play Xenogears at some point.
I know there is a reference. I know they did bring like Cosmos from Xeno Saga as a character that you could as a blade. But again, even that's like not super canon with that stuff either. So
yeah, because the blades were kind of like
debatable.
a separate thing. Yeah.
Well, and like that stuff wasn't even canon with the fact that like Shulk and Fiora, they were blades that in that game, but that wasn't even like canon or anything. So stuff like that, it's hard to argue with certain things, right? And I mean, now that this is a Nintendo series, nothing to do with stuff from Bandai or specifically Namco, it's just kind of weird, right? And I don't want to have to play all those Xenosaga. Like, do I have to play Xenosaga Freaks? Like, what is that game? That's a game that
okay, that would actually be really funny if they made that canon, though. Let's be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's a game called Xenosaga Freaks. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's some weird game. I don't know.
Yeah, that like, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they would want to like just looking at Xenoblade specifically with connecting X to the other games. I don't know if they would want to do that, but at the same time, like, they could probably think of something super insane to like connect it to them. I don't know. Like, it would be with I think like they're probably Honestly, what I think they're gonna do with like the new content in the game, and like I don't think they necessarily have to connect it to the other games. I think they're either gonna like build off of what was already there, because I've heard a lot of people saying that like the original version kind of ended on a cliffhanger and was kind of disappointing. So I could see it doing that, but also kind of setting up for a sequel as well. I could definitely see them setting up for a Xenoblade X2, because that is logically the next direction that they could go in for the series. Honestly, I think it would be cool if Xenoblade X2 kind of, like, it has, like, a more interesting story, but also keeps, like, a lot of the appeal of Xenoblade X in terms of, like, multiplayer and a large open world and things. I hope they have, like, a good balance in the next Xenoblade X game if they do that, but Definitive Edition is definitely doing a good job, like, building more on, like, the story, even though, like, the original wasn't super in-depth.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad they're at least doing a little more with it for the Xenoblade fans who do want more of a story.
Also,
like, I guess I'm kind of in that boat a little bit, even though I don't mind how X is. I mean, I really do like X, and I'm really looking forward to the remaster. I do appreciate that they are, like, focusing, like, a little more on, like, story and adding more story things and everything. So,
all right, yeah, for sure.
but yeah, I think that's about all we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Anyways, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition looks absolutely incredible, and I am really excited to play it. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!
See ya.